It's May 23rd, 2022. This is Roqe. They are one of the best-known Iranian rock bands of the 21st century, and they come with a mission and message in their lyrics. It's been almost 17 years since the debut album of Kiosk hit the world, and they've grown a massive audience across the Iranian diaspora ever since. With their urgent rhythms and potent political and satirical lyrics, Kiosk have distinguished themselves in Persian music, you might say. Now they're back playing live shows, and they are here in the Roqe studio today for a feature interview and a live performance. Kiosk, or Kiosk, the band, coming up. This is conversations from, to, and about the Iranian diaspora. I'm Jian Ghomeshi. This is Roqe. Hi there, welcome to episode 180. Sada Hashtad, Reza Jun.
Oh.
Right? It's going to be hard when the numbers get too high for me to be able to count in Persian, you know?
I know.
Then I'm going to be like, Divisto, Shasto.
Can you count up to, how many can you count up to?
Yes, I can count.
Okay,
Thank
good,
you. That's
good,
all I can do.
Hey.
Episode 180 of Roqe. Hope you're keeping well wherever you're tuning in from around the world. Hello to you from Toronto, Canada. Salam Dostan Aziz, Durud Bar Shoma. Salam Reza Jun, Kapitan Reza.
Hey, I embrace that, sir.
I know.
The Captain Reza on
Reza.
Instagram.
And thank you for that promotion. And hello, Groovy Shaya.
Hi, Azizam.
Not on Instagram. Happily off Instagram.
Yes.
True.
Kiosk. The band Kiosk are coming here. So I understand that the reason why there's the disconnect is in Persian, it is actually spelt like kiosk, like it's like the same word as in English, but it's spelt with an O, and an O spelling in Persian is kiosk.
That is correct.
Right? So if you, why are you looking at me like that, Shai?
Yes, I'm thinking.
Yes.
Yeah.
be careful. I know it's not easy when you're thinking. So then I asked the Bachaha here, I was saying, well, why isn't it spelled with a U? Because then you would say kiosk in English. Yeah. But because they wanted it to be kiosk, the word is kiosk in Persian.
Yes.
So it really is the same word, but it's said differently in English and in Persian.
I think that happens in French too. I mean, there's a lot of movies that they pronounce it differently in French. It's the same.
They pronounce kiosk differently?
I don't know how to say kiosk in French, but maybe they say kiosk.
But they probably do.
They probably do.
You're saying that in French things are pronounced differently. Thank you,
and
Reza.
what I'm saying is that Farsi language is very much influenced by the French. So
no, but it's an odd thing because normally you would say the word the same way as it's said in both languages. You would say the name of the band, but because it's spelt like kiosk, and because kiosk is actually a word, it feels absurd in English to look at that and say kiosk.
That's right.
So then you have this weird thing where Iranians, where English speaking people would look at this and think Iranians are saying it wrong, even though it's an Iranian word. It's like Iranians coming to the West and calling Westerners Khariji, It's like one of those things.
My mom still does that.
Yeah. In Khariji, it's like, you've been here a week and they've been here for generations.
So true.
Yeah, Kharija meaning foreigners, of course, if you're listening and a non-Persian speaker. So anyway, the boys are live in studio.
Yes.
This is kind of fun. They're not only here for an interview in advance of their Toronto date, playing live in Toronto at the end of this week. They just played Vancouver, I guess, last night.
Yes.
They're here for an interview, but also a live performance.
Wow,
it's going to be really
awesome.
Fun. Yeah.
First time. We've never had a live performance.
That is not true.
Did we?
Well,
Who did we have?
Well, we had Nima and Sarah.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Actually, sorry.
And I think we've had a couple of other.
No, only Nima and Sarah.
Really?
Yeah.
They're the only people who
Nima and
performed?
Sarah,
Yes,
so
yes.
Second.
Anyway, as certainly our first band playing.
Yeah.
I mean, we launched in the middle of COVID or the beginning of COVID,
True.
so it's these opportunities are finally coming up. I'm very, very happy to have these guys coming in.
too.
Lots to talk to them about always. They put out this album just a year ago called Sweet Destiny, and I know they're going to play one of the songs from that record. Anyway, Arash Subhani, Ali, Nima, Casey
Yes.
are going to be here. Looking forward to having them here. Reza, you are back.
Yes,
how
sir.
was Las Vegas? Did you lose money?
Yeah, I want. Yeah, well, yes. I broke even. Let's call it even. But it was amazing.
That's an accomplishment to go to Vegas and break even.
Yeah. No, it was pretty good.
Fun was had.
Fun was
You didn't
had,
come
money
back.
was spent.
You did not come back betrothed. You didn't.
No.
You are not married.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not. A lot of people tie the knots.
Keon was speculating last week that
Keon speculates a lot of things. I wouldn't really put too much thought into what Keon has to say about my personal life, or anything for that matter. No, I'm joking,
okay.
I'm joking.
She thought maybe this was your opportunity to pop the question.
I know.
Yeah.
I was insinuating that I'm very getting serious and stuff, and she thought that maybe that's when I'm gonna pop the question. A lot of people had that thought actually, but no, it didn't happen.
Did you have any, by the way, because of the Ali Reza Ghormani we
Yeah.
talked about last month or a couple of months ago, and this has been happening a lot. You're a guy born in Iran.
Yes.
And did you? I know you were a little worried about this. Did you have any trouble getting into?
Oh man, I
getting
gotta
into-
tell you this. I got across, but here's the funny part. Like I've been going to the States for a long
Years,
time,
yeah.
and never had any issues. I was never asked these questions. So the guy stops
Well,
me.
it's
he's
the
like,
post-Trump thing.
Yeah.
There's the whatever it's called, the Patriot Act or whatever the new regulations where if you were in the army, even if certain side of the army, even if it wasn't your choice,
That's right.
Back in the day,
You're banned from
you
going to
cannot get into the States,
That's
right?
correct, yeah.
This is only relevant if you're born in Iran. Of course, they don't
only
ask me any of
relevant-
these questions.
No. Only if on your passport it says like born in Iran, which mine does. Shiraz represent. And the guy stops me. He's like, "So, did you serve at the army? Where did you go to the for your military?" I said, "I didn't go to the military. I left when I was 17." The guy's like, "So you didn't serve at Sepah?"
Wow.
Oh, he said
He said
Sepah?
it. He said it. It was like, "So you didn't serve at Sepah?" I'm like,
He said the Persian word.
he said
he didn't
Persian
say
word.
the
No, the Persian
Revolutionary Guards or whatever. He said,
word. He was like, "So you didn't serve at Sepah?" I'm
Wow.
like, "I don't know what that is, sir, but nah." I got the out before any of that stuff.
I didn't know. I don't know what that is.
Yeah,
and he
said, I
bought
don't know
that.
I
I guess if he
looked
took, you took a look at one look at you, and he
I
was like,
mean, yeah.
"This guy's just been out clubbing. He doesn't know what Sepah is."
for
Yeah.
the audience who doesn't see me, you take a good look at me, you'll be like, "Yeah, he doesn't know what Sepah is," but I do. So he let me in.
Wow! So you just lied to a
I
customs.
totally did. Well, somewhat. I knew what Sepah was, but I didn't serve at the army, so I was also being truthful. Here's the thing: I thought it was just like because it was a random thing. I didn't know it was. It's like there's doctors who've been going to the States for work, conferences, and like visiting family and stuff. Like friends of mine that I found out are banned from
Absolutely.
going to the States.
No,
It's
this is a
real
huge problem
man.
right now. Yeah, it's a huge problem, especially because there was a period. We've talked about this on the show, but there was a period early on. After the revolution, where you didn't have it, because I think there's an opt-in, opt-out. If you want to serve on the Sepah side or not with the army, you have to serve in the army, but you have But there was a period when you didn't have any options.
Yeah, you didn't have any
So
choice.
people who've been living in the West in Canada for 30 years or something like that, but happen to have been streamed into that back in, are now not allowed to. And it hasn't changed under the Biden administration. There was some presumption that this was a Trump thing that would change, but it's been kept in place. So anyway, you got to they let you.
They let
I
me
mean, this
in.
is.
Hey,
There's a problem at the border when forget the porous Mexican
Nah.
border that the Republicans are worried about. It's letting Reza in to go to Vegas that I'm most
I'm
concerned.
one of them. Trust me, Trump all the way now.
Oh, you're
I'm changing my views,
Okay.
starting to really shift and becoming more
I think this is
realistic.
you're not really changing because this is exactly the thing you said when you came back from Florida
Is
too.
that true?
Yeah,
So
you're
I
like
guess-
I'm a Republican now. I love Trump.
All right, I
What is
said
it with these
Republican.
American trips?
I
And you
don't know,
come back.
man. They really have an effect on you. Okay, the freedom, the food, the lower taxes.
food.
I guess I-
The food's great in Toronto. What are you talking about?
I don't know. It's
I
the
mean,
weather.
not to
it's
take
the
anything away
air.
from our American brothers and sisters.
no.
Arash Sobhani lives in New York, of
Oh,
course.
there we go.
Yeah.
We
So
should become friends.
he's on the other side of the. Thankfully, we're keeping him away from you.
No,
and
I
waiting
don't
to
know
come in the
why.
studio.
You're not letting me see him.
We are coming to you on roqemedia.com. It's there that you can link to all of our platforms. We're on our ongoing mission to build a new audiovisual encyclopedia of Iranian diaspora identity. We are on Spotify, SoundCloud, Castbox, Apple Podcasts, Instagram. So if you just want to listen to, if you haven't done this before and you just know us on Instagram or YouTube, you can actually subscribe on our podcast platforms and listen to the show anytime you want there. Or of course, if you like some visuals, YouTube and Instagram are the places. And if you like to see your bulletins or titles and all of that in English and in Persian, check us out on Telegram at Roqe Media. Shaya,
Yes.
you were sad about something this week. You
Yes.
texted me about
Actually, this is a question I want to ask you on the show. So, do you know Vangelis, the
Vangelis, the movie composer, the soundtrack
correct,
guy? Yeah.
Correct. So he passed away
Ba,
last.
ba, 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 ba.
Yeah,
The Chariots of Fire guy.
Yeah. So
I love it.
But I don't think
So
so. You know, you knew Vangelis in Iran.
this is my question: how big Vangelis was in Western?
Big in what way?
Like
Celebrity?
Yeah.
Not big.
No.
I mean, obviously, amongst movie composers,
Mm-hmm.
movie soundtrack guys, or whatever, and even a bit outside of that, yes, people would know who he is
Yeah.
if they're interested in that.
Uh-huh.
But he's not like Springsteen or Bowie
see.
or something. There's no, people wouldn't walk around
Yeah.
talking about Vangelis.
So he's huge actually in Iran.
Really?
Yeah. So and I
That's so interesting.
Yeah, so I thought a lot that why he's huge in Iran. I think this is the reason. So his music doesn't have any.
Some people say he's the Beyonce. no. Like, what do you mean he's huge in Iran?
I mean, what the reason is that I think because his music doesn't have any lyrics. He's not a rock star. So and in the television, in TV, they
They can play it.
Like,
And also, it's not really rock music. It's
no.
Mellow.
It's like,
Mellow.
yeah.
If they want to show like the Iran-Iraq war, the footage of Iran-Iraq war, they put Vangelis. If they want
Oh
to
my God.
show, the Team Melli goes to the World Cup, they play Vangelis.
But not that. The Chariots of Fire theme, or what do they use?
Yeah,
What's the?
probably.
So for the epic one, they play the da 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 da. But for the sport one, they play the Chariots of Fire.
Wow. So Vangelis is known amongst.
Yes.
Yeah, like when 1998, Khodadad Azizi, he scored a goal against Australia, and Iran went to
cue the
World Cup.
Vangelis.
Yeah, they played that over and over again.
It's so funny.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, rest in peace, Vangelis.
Rest in peace, Vangelis. Thank you, Shaya, for the incredible Iranian composer, Vangelis. A proud member of our diaspora. How old was Vangelis?
78, I think. Actually, I've heard that he passed away because of Corona.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's sad.
right. Well, I guess there'll be theme music at the funeral.
Oh my god. آرش جان شهرونده آقا الان تمومش میکنیم جیان جان بچه‌ها منتظر.
All right. A big thanks to Kati Kamandi Immigration for support with this episode of Roqe. So this is a full-service immigration firm that offers all inland and overseas immigration services, including temporary visas, permanent visas, PR extensions, and citizenship applications. Kati and her team are available to inform and assist you as their client throughout the whole immigration process. And due to the current inflation and dollar rate in the Middle East and Iran, they are flexible in their agreement fees and are considering up to 20% discounts to their fees to new clients from that region till the end of July. So if you want to come to Canada or you're here and you need support, you need an immigration counselor, Kati is your person. Sounds like the right time to team up with Kati Kavandi Immigration Services. Instagram page kati.kavandi.immigration. For all your immigration needs. Have you been to the Museum of Contemporary Art in Toronto, Canada?
Me?
Either of you?
I haven't.
Either of you cultured men?
No, right? I don't
No?
like museums, but I like museums of contemporary art. Like I like contemporary art, but no, I haven't been.
You've never been to the MoMA in New York?
No.
There's a must. It's a must
know.
visit.
MoMA, I've been there. This museum is on the Dundas Street?
That's correct.
Okay, yeah.
The west part of Toronto. So listen, if you're outside of Toronto, there is a great museum that you should, if you come to Toronto or if you're in the greater Toronto area, there is the Museum of Contemporary Art. It is in the downtown west of Toronto, the Junction area, as Shai is saying. This is a pretty good time for you to visit. Right now at the MoCA Toronto is an exhibit, MoCA being the Museum of Contemporary Art, is an exhibit entitled Shirin Neshat, Land of Dreams. So lots of folks listening may know of Shirin, of course, Shirin Neshat, an Iranian visual artist, known for her work in film, video, photography. This is her first major exhibition in Canada in 20 years. It sees the convergence of photography and film, bringing together a range of work in one immersive experience. And this comes from her perspective as an Iranian immigrant living and working in the U.S. Land of Dreams focuses on global issues of displacement, migration, and geopolitical conflict. It's running to the end of July. So you want to check this out if you are in the Toronto area. The main part of this exhibition is, and what gives it its title, is 100 photographic portraits and a video installation converging photography and film into this immersive experience. Presents a perspective on contemporary America.
Wow.
Oh.
So instead of going to Vegas, Reza, you could have gone to the
Very
you could have gone to the
different
Museum of Contemporary Art in
I'm
Toronto.
getting dizzy thinking about the contrast.
Shirin Neshat, Land of Dreams at the MoCA Toronto until July 31st, 2022. Thank you to the MoCA for help supporting this program today. I saw our friends Maz Jabani in Tehran and Nima Nazari at performing this weekend. They were on top of their form. You get to see those boys anywhere on tour. I know they're continuing to play dates all over the place.
Awesome.
Make sure to see them as well. All right. We are about to bring in the lads from Kiosk. Yes, Shai, everybody's set. My in-studio guests today are one of the most prominent rock bands to emerge out of the global Iranian diaspora and the global community in recent decades. Take a listen to this.
قدرت عشق و عشق قدرت مدرنیته یه سنت تو محور شرارت ژیان و عشق سرعت مسکن رنج و درد به صورت قرص و گرد شام و نهار نداری جاش میخوریم کیک زن انتخابای تستی ازدواجای قسطی 2000 ته گنجه بود فرستادیم فلسطین موفقیت تضمینی موزیک زیرزمینی دکتر قلب نمیخوان جراح فک و بینی غیرت سیب زمینی توسعه سبک چینی دموکراسی دینی پیتزای قرمه سبزی.
There you go. A little taste of their great song from the album, the same title from 2007, Eshq Surat, The Love of Speed. That is the band Kiosk, or Kiosk, as you might know them in Persian. Never gets easier for a Western kid. Why is it Kiosk? It really, the word is kiosk. It looks like kiosk. They are a celebrated Iranian underground rock band, well known for their blend of musical styles and their wry lyrics confronting cultural angst. So Kiosk began with singer and songwriter Arash Sobhani in Tehran in 2003. Arash moved to the States in 2005. Kiosk releases their first album, Ordinary Man, and since then they've released 7 studio albums and have toured the world. Their latest album, Sweet Destiny, is a musical film and album dedicated to the families of the victims of executions and the death penalty in Iran. The band has a big show here in Toronto coming up on the weekend, Saturday, May 28th at the Access Club and Concert Hall. But first, Ali Kamali, Arash Sobhani, Nima Ahmadiyeh, and Khashayar Bondar. 4/5 of Kiosk are here live in the Roqe studio today. Hello, boys.
Hi.
Nice to have you here. What have you done with Shahruz? Why is the drummer never allowed to come to the important interviews?
You need a break from drummers time to time.
Is he okay?
Yeah.
Is it?
No, he's at work. He
All
couldn't
right.
get a day off.
All right. he doesn't get a day off, but the rest of you do. I think it's there should be a law that you're not allowed to turn up somewhere without your drummer. The drummer always gets the short end of the stick. But you've just played in Vancouver. You got a show coming up in Toronto later this week. I mean, the obvious and simple question: how does it feel to be back together and back on stage, Arash?
It's amazing, you know, the 3 years almost we haven't played because of the lockdown and what have you, and to feel the energy of a live audience, to play music together, you know, to the chemistry that has in the band been, you know, between me and Ali and Shadows, you know, we go way back, and Nima and Casey, of course, they brought a different light to what we were doing. So it's really exciting. I'm really excited. I'm really happy. I'm having a great time playing with these guys.
You guys are in different parts of the world now. Most of the band is in Toronto.
That's correct.
You
yes.
guys are in Toronto.
Yeah. Yep.
But Arash, you're sort of constantly on tour, seemingly
Nomad.
roaming around the world, but you're currently in New York
Right.
mostly.
Yeah.
How much time and effort, Ali, do you have to spend reacclimatizing with each other when you're reuniting? Or is it like riding a bicycle? You just, strap on the instruments and you're back where you were in 2007 or
Sure,
something?
yeah. You know, some of the songs we've been playing them for 15, 20 years. That's like muscle memory. Like you play them automatically. But especially when you have a new album out, you gotta work on it. So we all practice like at home, but I think we need maybe a few weeks to get in a good shape.
But
So by August, the show should be a lot better than this weekend. Yeah.
no, I mean it's well, you know, there's no limit to how much you can get the song perfect. You know, it's always room for improvement. But it's like you said, when we get together, because we've played so long together, it's just like the energy. Then we can find each other. Then we can kind of like cover up for each other. So it's both.
How does it feel for you, Nima? Does it feel like intimidating to be playing? I mean, you're a great guitarist, but is it you got to get up to speed really quickly, and even more so because you guys haven't had the chance to play together that much?
Yeah, with Kiosk is different because these guys are my friend too. So we hang out sometimes and we jam. So we kind of know each other's taste of music, and we sometimes jam Kiosk songs or other kind of songs. So it wasn't that hard to master the songs, but still, yeah, you need a few weeks to sound tight and have no mistakes. Even I think the big bands they like rehearse a lot of time.
Well,
like
the really
times.
big bands go to a castle somewhere in Northern Ireland
Exactly,
or something for 2 months and rehearse the tour.
Well, we have a basement. We don't have a castle. We have a basement in Toronto. So
And
We have
KC,
a fancy man cave.
what's your position on catching up after? Well, come right up to the microphone here.
Yeah, I had the pleasure actually to work with these guys for the first time. So I'm very new here. But I love their music, and I hope that in future we get to work together some more and jam and rock,
I mean,
these guys are great.
You're a great musician and a producer.
Thank you.
You must have known of Kiosk when you were coming
Yes,
up.
of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
What does it feel like to be in the band that you would have probably been a fan of?
It feels great. I mean, for me, the most important thing before anything else is the chemistry and the connection between the guys. You know what I mean? And the first time I saw these guys, it was like, I've known these guys for such a long time, and
When was the first time you saw them play? Do you remember?
First time I saw them play was a few years ago, like 3-4 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, but again, like it's all about chemistry.
You weren't 5 years old in Tehran
No, I don't think
2003?
No, I don't think so. But it was like a few years ago, which a couple of the songs I've heard, and I'm a big fan of rock music, so I knew these guys are, And when Nima told me that there's a gig and are you interested, and I jumped on it, it was great.
I mean, part of the thing about living in different places is you're necessarily at different points in your lives too than you were when you started the band. It's if you forgive me for it's not an easy question to answer because it's you might have to take your time with it. But does your relationship to Kiosk change as you get older and as you're not all, I mean, not that you're old guys, but you're not starting, you're not starting in the music business anymore. Does it change, Ali? Do you have a different relationship to this band than you would have had 15 years ago?
Not an easy question.
Yeah.
No.
I think it changes. Yeah, for me it's like my baby. So I recorded, mixed all the Kiosk albums since we started, right? I spent hours and hours of my life working on this music. So it's my baby, but sometimes you don't like your baby for a day, sometimes you love it another day. Yeah, for sure it changes, but it's always my baby, and it will be.
Do you love the old records? Be honest. Do you listen to them and go, "Oh, I would have done this differently. I would have."
Yeah. So some songs I always say, "Oh, I don't want to listen to it. I wish I could have done this differently." But still I love the song. But I think I say that a lot.
I wish Arash had sung this better.
Actually, this morning he told me Jian has a beautiful voice when he talks, and I was like, okay, maybe the guys are thinking about a new vocalist.
Oh, everybody says that.
You don't say it to me.
Arash, what about your relationship to this band? I mean, you've also famously done a lot of other things, and you continue to. Is Kiosk? I mean, I want to think as a fan of your band, it feels like coming home to be playing with this band. It's like, this is my comfortable sweater in a positive way. Mm-hmm. Is that really what it's like?
Exactly. I think what Ali said and what you described is really how I feel. It's like the base. It's like the home. It's like I feel comfortable with these guys when I play. It's a project that we started, and a lot of people came and went, and we worked with a lot of other artists, and it was all But the journey, you look back and you listen to some of the songs. You may not like the song or how you played it or how you sang on it, but you have some memories. It brings back certain days and certain experiences, certain time that you were going through some relationship or whatever, and then those parts that makes it precious and makes it valuable for me. And like Ali said, it's like our baby. It's our baby. And it's an interesting relationship. It always feels like home. It's like I know whatever happens to any other project I'm doing, there's always going to be Kiosk.
The implications are different as you get older. You've tasted a good lifestyle. You've had jobs that pay a lot, whatever. So it's harder to. Just to put it out there, it's probably harder to tour in the sense that you don't, you're at a certain place in your lives where you don't necessarily want to all cram into a shitty van and, drive from Albany to Syracuse, right? So the type of gigs you want to do, and that you have families, so it restricts, you have to kind of navigate how to continue doing the band, but also maintain some of the rock and roll energy you began with, right?
Exactly. That's very true, because you have to do certain things. You have to get in a van and just go and do places that you don't necessarily like to go or whatever. But I think the other thing is the relationship with the fans, because the fans have grown older too. They've been playing around for 15 years.
Right.
So these guys are different people, but still they have some memories with these songs. They have they relate to some of the. So to play them the new songs, and you think about all of these things and certain things that you've done in the past you don't want to do again, or places you don't want to go again. So you keep thinking about all of these things.
Name all the places you don't want to go again, so we can people can hear how much you dislike their towns.
Toronto is not one of them. I love Toronto. No, it's always been like whenever we play at Toronto, it feels like really the closest thing I can get of playing in Tehran.
Wow.
Yeah.
Toronto feels like Tehran.
The closest.
Well, I mean, I guess now, because so many folks have come from Tehran and quite recently, but can you characterize why it feels like Tehran?
It's from the very beginning, wherever we went to tour, and Casey has a lot more experience because he just came back from Turkey and Australia and all. But wherever I go, I really am interested to learn about the Iranian community there, and why they're there, why they're in Sydney, why they're in LA, why did they end up in Houston. And there are so many different factors that comes to play. Schools, industry, what have you, and Toronto. I think it's the type of they come from the same background, same class, same. I have friends here from when I was doing the military service. I have friends here from when I was in high school. I have friends here from college, all of that. So it's like my type of people, for whatever reason, decided to come to Toronto.
By the way, just because you mentioned it, there seems to be a real burgeoning community in Sydney, Australia. One of our top cities listening to us right now is Sydney. Like thousands of people listen to Roqe every week in Sydney. You were just there, were you?
Yeah.
Tell us about it, Casey.
Well, I had a concert with Bijan Mortazavi. He's a great violin player. I'm sure you guys know it. Yeah, but the thing was, the crowd was completely different. You know, it was oversold out. There's a lot of people wanted to. I mean, it was just a different vibe. You know. Yeah. So I think the community in Sydney is huge. Yeah. You know.
Usually, our biggest shows are either in Toronto or LA, but you can feel like. I think the people in Toronto, because they travel a lot to Iran and they come back, I think they're more connected to Iran.
That's right. LA folks have mostly given up on that over the years.
Yeah, because usually older people live there and they have a life settled there, and usually they don't travel that much. But usually people in Toronto, they're
more connected to Iran,
younger.
Speaking of which, Ali, you live 2 streets away from where I grew up in Thornhill. And it pisses me off so much because I think I could have used you 20, 30 years ago. It's like when I was growing up and there were no Persians around, and there you are now close to my mom's house. It's so beautiful. I have a bunch of questions I want to ask you guys. And I want to get into politics and some of what your mission is as a band. But we're going to start off with a song you're going to actually perform live because you brought a couple of guitars, and it's our great fortune to have you playing in the Roqe studio. You're going to do a song off the most recent record, right? And Ma? Do you remember when it was and where you were when you wrote this song?
Yeah, I was in Stockholm working on a project, Persia's Got Talent. I was a producer for that show. And I had my guitar, and it was right after one of the recent uprisings in Iran, and you know the images you see, and then you come to social media or you turn on the news and you feel like how they're trying to formulate it differently, especially how the media is being manipulated by certain players in both Iranian media and non-Iranian media. That really pissed me off to see something's happening, and then the hypocrites who try to get something out of it for themselves, or trying to doctor the news, or what we see today. I mean, it's a global, I think, problem right now. The disinformation, misinformation, all of that discussion aside, but the whole concept of people who are in media, they come from that background, they grew up in Tehran, they see those streets, they see their brothers being shot at, and then they just come on camera and they say things differently. And so Ma pushed the album, it won't stay like this, and that was that. I just sat down and I wrote the lyrics, and I think it was kind of like a therapy for me. It was like my message to all these people who were doing that, and actually we used the clips of some of these reporters on the actual song, on the actual recording. You can hear them.
That's right.
Saying certain things that we refer to. But yeah, that's how it came back.
All right, let's hear this live in the Roqe studio, and then we'll come back and talk about it. Let's try it. Why not? Let's do it. Yeah. So let me explain what's happening here. So Arash is picking up his guitar, and he's going to play and sing. Ali and Casey, you've got
my vintage shaker.
You brought your vintage shaker, which involves peanuts in
We can make popcorn.
That's actually peanuts, dude. Yeah. I'm wasting a peanut can on you for that, And Nima's got a guitar here as well. This is from the album Sweet Destiny, and the song Ma, live in the Roqe studio, Kiosk.
میشه یه دروغو اونقدر گفت که جای حقیقت از دهن بقیه شنو. میشه لاف زد و مدرک آکسفورد رو خرید. میشه پنهان کرد حساب بانکی رو، زد و بند با تاواریشو، تانگو با یانکی رو، بعدش بغض کرد جلو دوربینو، رأی مردم رو دزدید. میشه وقت عمل چوغنده رو ماست شد، یه روز چپ شد و روز بعد راست شد. هنر واسه هنر سیاست رو نفهمید، چشا رو بست و هیچی رو ندید. ماه پشت ابر نمیمونه، 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 نمیمونه. تو کشور فقیر پولدار شدن ساده است، جنس همه جور و خریدارم آماده است. هر با غیرتی رو به قیمتش میشه خرید. اخبار گوش میدم واسه هوا شناسی، باد از کجاست باید با کی بلاسی، باید دیرتر افتاد تا زودتر بقیه رسید. همه یا دکترن یا مهندس یا استاد، نسل سوخته از 40 تا 80. مجرم یکی مثل بقیه شما هاست، تنها جرمش این بود که گیر افتاد. ماه پشت ابر نمیمونه، ماه پشت ابر نمیمونه، ماه پشت ابر نمیمونه، ماه پشت ابر نمیمونه، نمیمونه، ماه پشت ابر نمیمونه، ماه پشت ابر نمیمونه، ماه پشت ابر نمیمونه، ماه پشت ابر نمیمونه، نمیمونه.
Beautiful. Nicely done. Live in the Roqe studio. That's Kiosk, Arash, Ali, Casey, and Nima. And from their latest album, Sweet Destiny, that's the song Ma. I really love that song. And the chorus refrain translates as "The moon will not stay behind the clouds." Like the truth will come out, basically, yeah. Right? And I didn't know that's a saying in Iran. Yes.
Yeah. It is a saying, and it is a saying that I seldom use. I don't use that very much, but it just came naturally. You know, when I was looking at those images that are not being shown on TV, it just came. You know, it made sense.
It's funny because it's a difficult song. It's a sad thought, but at the same time, the idea that the truth will come out is a defiant kind of hopeful sentiment too. I mean, do you believe that it's inevitable that atrocities are going to be explained over the years?
That's very interesting. I think discussion to have right now in Iran, because it is a fight about hope. It's about clinging to something. People lost hope in everything, and even hope itself as a word, omid in Farsi, doesn't mean anything anymore, because they've devoided the words from meaning. Everything in Farsi, reform, hope, change, all of that is just meaningless anymore. But it's important that we realize the concept of hope, and we stick to it, because this new generation, if they grow up without hope, what is there without hope? So I think it had to have that melancholy feel because that's what the situation we were living in. And at the same time, it had to have some opening. I always think like, you know, the songs that really move me, and that's true with some, you know, gypsy songs or blues or whatever. It's like when it's raining and then you see the sun come out of you know, behind the clouds, or like, you know, that time of the year when there's like, you're sad but you're happy. There's minor, major. What did Leonard Cohen say? Major. A minor fall for major lift, or, you know, this is what's happening, and I tried to capture that in the song. Or that was the mood I was in, I guess. So.
It's interesting that you should say that hope is a difficult word, because Arash, this is the saddest thing that I hear said about, particularly about young people in Iran today, is that there's a nihilism that pervades, that it's just like, why give a enough, like, you know, we're badbachtim, we're not going to, you know, that we don't have a future, there is no hope, and I often hear that sentiment is particularly crystallized after the Green Movement, right after 2009. It was like, I mean, we have people come on the show and just go, that was the last, you know, that was it for me once that happened. And you guys formed and were writing your political, you know, songs and defiant songs before that. How have you seen that change in terms of what you guys need to stand for and represent in terms of the will and the hope of Iranian youth?
I think one of the saddest things that actually happened after the Green Movement was that we started to fall apart. I mean, before that, even and through to the Green Movement, we always were united. I think the whole country was united. They knew, you know, they have to stand up to this regime, and they want to change. But then they started to kind of like fragment the society of, you're from this tribe, or you're from that background, or you believe in this ideology, whatever. They started to and you can feel it in your friends, in your family members. A lot of them you don't talk to anymore, or you know, people in you used to play music, you don't want to see them anymore because of the political differences that happened. And I think the Iranian government really played their games very well to divide the country over these fault lines. But to me, and I think to the rest of the band, was that, you know, we believe in something, and as long as we say what we believe in, and we're not pretending, we're not trying to ride any waves, we're not trying to be opportunistic, we're not trying to say what people want us to say, but we say what we believe in. Even we had to pay prices, you know, we were canceled, you know, we talked about this before. So that makes us feel like we're doing what we're supposed to do, and I think Mah Pusht Abne, when eventually people will know that.
What do you think, Ali?
Actually, I'm gonna explain something a little off topic regarding the song Michael Jackson, because everybody we have a song.
It's another song on Sweet Destiny.
In our newest album called Michael Jackson, and the chorus says Michael Jackson passed away. Everybody's asking, like, what is it? What are you trying to say? So yeah, because you just mentioned Green Movement. So when Green Movement happened, it was the same time Michael Jackson actually passed away. And the chorus of the song says
Isn't the idea that the Michael Jackson's death kind of swept the Green Movement off the front pages, right?
Exactly. All the medias all around the world, they just covered Michael Jackson death, right? And they didn't do anything about the GreenMovement. So that's the meaning of the song, because everybody's asking, like, what is it? Yeah. Why you say
that idea of the hopelessness, either of Iranian youth. You guys are welcome to jump in here. I don't want to only be directing things to Casey. You want to go ahead? Yeah.
The word hope, I mean, for us, I've been here since the year 2000, so I've never experienced that truly, but I just want you guys truly to imagine that for a second. Like, close your eyes and imagine you don't have any hope. You know what I mean? I do a lot of meditation. I go to India, so the reason I can connect with it is because I've touched that part of me that, you know, how is it that you can live without hope, or connecting with a lot of people in Iran and Afghanistan, a lot of Middle Eastern countries, not just Iran. And I think it's like death. It's like a slow death, you know what I mean? Because if you don't have hope, that means you don't have a future. That means you don't want to do anything. You don't have any motives, any motivation, nothing, right? You just wake up. So what ends up happening is that you just want to either diss people or like empty your anger on other people. The same thing that's happening with our country.
But it's understandable when you've been burned so many times.
Exactly. So I think something major needs to happen because people are suffering, man. Without hope, life doesn't make sense.
Can I ask about if it wasn't such a serious topic? I was going to say it's like being an Arsenal fan. You've been burned so many times. You think that we're just not getting into the Champions League. Doesn't matter. Let me ask you about political songs, because Arash is the lead singer, and we hear him, and he's quite outspoken in social media. We hear his politics. It's always interesting being in a band where there's poignant and important but political lyrics and messaging. How does it work exactly when there's a few members of the band? In other words, if there's a song, even if it's just a lyric, one of the lyrics of the song that you're uncomfortable with, I mean, I can't imagine that you're always on the same page about everything. Right. So say you or Shahruz would have heard something of it. Yeah. Do you speak to Arash about it, or do you guys have to like fight about it, or do you just go, no, it's his lyrics, I don't mind, or how does it work?
I think everybody has a different personality, right? So I think we've been around for years, and we managed to be in a band for 15, 20 years. I think the relationship and the chemistry between the guys is as important as the music. And if it doesn't exist, you won't be able to do anything. One of the things we had is that. So obviously, like in anything, lyrics, music, there's always something that you don't like, and you like to change. Yeah, everybody has a different opinion. So I trust Arash about the lyrics and the songwriting, and I take care of the technical stuff, recording, arranging, mixing. So I leave that part to Arash. I don't want to get involved.
And he says nothing about the recording and mixing, right?
Not that much. Yeah, he has his
he's uninformed.
He has his input, but he's mostly focused on lyrics and the melody of the songs. So I think this way worked for us so far. So I mean,
it's beautiful that you have that in your band, Arash, because I'm sure there's things that you guys have, some of your greatest songs, that there's somebody who's pissed off at the lyric, or comes at you and goes, "Why did you do that? Why did you say that? Why are you, and you have to, you represent. I mean, you're brothers in this band together, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you, Arash? For maybe not for a song like Ma, because it's hard to disagree with anything that you're saying there, but for some of the songs, do you actually sit down with the guys and explain where you're coming from and say, this is why I think this song is important, or do you sort of trust that they trust you?
I think it's we've had discussions about some of the songs and before, but I think what I wanted to add to Ali's point was that both Ali and Shahruz politically, they may not be as active or outspoken, but not that they just trust me. They share the same values because we come from the same background. And we've had other members in the band who were like communists or whatever, and then we were fine with them as long as they were fine with us. But then it was their problem, whatever happened. But for us, I mean, we all share the same values. We all believe in the same stuff, and we want the same future for our country. But the guys trust me, and I trust them, and the relationship is like brothers, like you said. We've had discussions. We've had like, you're doing it too much, or take out this word, or this may piss off somebody that I don't think it's the right thing to do. And sometimes I listen, sometimes I don't, sometimes I fight back, sometimes I don't. But it's always been like, like brothers, like a family, and we always managed to sort it out. The only times we had serious fights was over the sound check. And like it's out of our control. It's like not my area or his area. He goes
crazy when we do sound check.
How is he crazy?
He can't stand sound check.
You don't like sound checking?
No, he doesn't like. It's so annoying.
It's a waste of your time.
Well, it's not just that. It's just like too many. It just becomes a mayhem. It becomes too chaotic. Everybody has an input, and then there's so many people in charge. And you meet these sound guys you've never met before, and the guys that had a fight with his wife last night, or his hangover or whatever. And it's just like, I don't want to be there.
Wow. A stunning indictment of sound checks. The poor innocent sound check. I never heard this kind of. It's interesting because in Western music, I hear people, usually baby boomers, but people of all ages to a certain extent, lamenting sometimes that music is not being made, like that political music doesn't get made these days. That artists are not, because there's a lot to be commented on in the West, obviously as well, and compared to periods in history like the late '60s or even through the '70s, where it was a badge of honor and important for artists to be speaking out. The early '80s, the punk and new wave movement, a band like the Clash or something. You just don't. I mean, who do you point to? I mean, maybe there's some of it in hip hop, but it's almost a wasteland in terms of political artists. And I was thinking about Iran and Iranians and Iranian artists, and there is such a, I mean, there's so much to comment on, and so much that we would depend on artists to speak about. But actually, when it comes to Iranian music, maybe in the pop sphere at least, I don't always hear a lot of political lyrics. And I know that's partly because if you're in Iran, that can cause a lot of trouble. Or if you're not in Iran, but you want to get played in Iran, that can cause trouble. But what is your take on that? Your feeling? I mean, we've done an interview before, and I know that you personally feel it's part of what you have to do to get, to write political lyrics. But do you wish more Iranian artists were more political in what they were doing?
Yes, I think it's very important that everybody, whatever they're doing as artists, actors, professionals, whatever fields you are in, you don't forget where you come from. You don't forget Iran. You don't forget your brothers and sisters there, and you don't forget the situation and the future. This country was handed down to us generations after generations. They fought for it to keep it alive, and so I think it's a responsibility as an Iranian, and then you being an artist and a musician, whatever comes after that. So you have to realize, as a citizen, as a person, I want to be on the right side. I have to, take a position. I have to take a stand. I can't be indifferent to what's happening. So that's number one. Then you're a musician, you're a cab driver, you're a doctor, whatever. So that's one thing. The other thing is in the Iranian pop. Unfortunately, again, Casey might have a better understanding or more knowledge about this, but I think the how the songs are crafted. Some dude somewhere else writes a song about something that he hasn't experienced, and then gives it to some other guy who arranges it, and then gives it to some other guy to sing it. So how do you connect? The singer cannot even connect with what he's singing. How do you expect the people to kind of feel, the lyrics? So I think the problem is there, because a lot of our musicians don't write their own stuff, and they don't even care what they're singing.
The culture of that doesn't even really exist,
exactly,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's some singer-songwriters, there's bands like you, and some hip-hop artists maybe who do it themselves.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's kind of
new idea. It's like
the industry is basically there's a writer that gives it, and then you're the singer. It's sort of the Celine Dion model, but
exactly,
but across the board in Persian music. What do you want to comment on this, Casey, about politics and music and for Iranian artists?
Yeah, I think the problem goes way deeper than. I think it starts with people, because when people start accepting anything that they feed them, right? And the artists, a lot of them, in my opinion, a lot of pop culture in Iranian community, they want to get rich, famous, as fast as possible, and people fall for it, so people support it. They, instead of making a difference with music and doing something that actually matters and make someone think about something twice, these guys have found a shortcut, and whatever that's today and market oriented, these guys just release and people support it. I'm not saying it's bad. There should be room for
business, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of guys say they're gonna say that, okay, we can make this artist and we can make this amount of money from this artist, and in a year or two he's gone, and then the next guy comes in. Or we can actually, like, one thing I was gonna mention about the band, the concept is actually great. You guys, to be honest, I'm so impressed that you guys have been working together for 15 years, because I think the change needs to come from ourselves first. And with Iranian people, I'm Iranian as well, right? Is teamwork is a very hard thing to do, because we never learned it, right? So when we were talking about the country and the people, I think this is where we start.
But can I say, I'm glad, Arash, that you didn't limit this at least you're consistent when you're saying you expect this from the cab driver and the builder and whatever, because I do feel like I asked the question, but let me turn it around now. Sometimes I feel like artists are unduly expected to carry the burden. That for example, we'll give a pass to somebody who says, I'm doing work with Iran. I have business that back and forth, so that's why I can't get political in my carpet business. But we expect the artist has to be out there shouting from the rooftop, and there's a disparity there. At the same time, and if I flip it around and maybe take the devil's advocate, although I'm going to make this argument based on what people have said on this show. We've had artists come on here and say this, comedians, musical artists, etc., who say, look, our people have been through enough misery. My job is to entertain. I want people to have a good time. A very, very famous Iranian comedian came on and said this recently, and I said, look, I do my gigs so that people have a good time. I don't want them, I don't want to even remind them that there's all this trouble. How do we respond to that, Ali? Or Arash, go ahead.
I understand where they come from, and I don't want to point fingers at anybody. Like everybody should be doing this. It's a free country, but I think the issue is. You have certain responsibilities towards your fans, and if your fans are in pain, if people listen to you, people who have made you who you are because they bought your record or come to your concert or your show or what have you, they are in pain, and do you want to give them a painkiller or a temporary fix, or you want to remind them that they have to do something about it because this is not going to go away? I take the second approach, so I think it's a personal decision that the artist makes.
I think in general, some music, not only in Iran, like everywhere, some music doesn't have value. It's just business, right? You see it everywhere,
sure.
And most of it is like that.
I was gonna say,
and I'm not gonna blame that. It's a huge
industry,
business. It's a huge industry. There's a million kids. They just wanna, listen to whatever is in fashion, and it's a huge industry, and it's been always like that. You listen to Bob Dylan, and I'm sure in that same era there was some music that was
absolutely
no value.
Yeah.
It's been always like that in music.
That disparity. Although it's funny that we tend to remember Dylan more than we do the pop songs that feel more ephemeral, feel more forgettable sometimes, right?
Guys, can I add something to that? So I think music industry is business. It's an industry that as a producer that I've worked with a lot of different singers and I've produced a lot of different styles of music. The first thing that I have to do as a producer when I look at someone and it's a new talent, so I want to produce them or something, is to think about, okay, I'm investing this much time and money and this and that. So when I start having tour or concerts, how many people are going to come and how much money I'm going to make from this. But it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It's great, but we need all different styles of music and all different kind of artists. But what
to
you're saying,
ignore and to avoid
agree.
And saying that this doesn't, the problem doesn't exist. Yeah. That's I think wrong.
Yeah, it's somebody once said, John Lennon could afford to be an activist, right? Exactly. So not all musicians can, but it's a tough one.
It's a tough one.
Because I've got producers like you in the room and a band that's been around for a while, and you guys, I think, were at the forefront of a new wave of rock and indie rock music coming out of Iran. One would think that Iranian artists, this would be the hope. 21st century now, that there's going to be more recognition that the Persian music business is growing in the 21st century after, first of all, a complete shutdown in the 80s, right? Yeah. But do you think that's true? How do you feel things have changed in Persian music in the last couple of decades?
I think we are going backwards. And there is a curve that I believe everything is going to, go to shit at some point. And then it's gonna start recovering. What he said, before, when all these hit songs from Ebi Gugush Daryush, the old school songs, like the artists were living together. The songwriter would really like fall in love, go to the jungle, write the lyrics. Then, you know, it was real music, real analog stuff, and then it would come out, and 30 years later, still was
relevant.
amazing.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what we're missing. It's like I've talked to all these producers, you know, and they say, okay, I do like 20 songs a month. I'm like, how is that even possible? Like, you know, so
What
they
are
have
these
this
songs? Yeah.
template,
Yeah.
you know, and then they're just gonna. So I think at some point we're gonna hit rock bottom with our.
What do you mean we're going backwards?
In terms of, look, music, I think first is creating, you know, and that creative part of it is missing right now. So it's all about the business of music these days, you know. So the productions are getting better and better, but the feel behind it, you know, the vibe behind it, you know, is kind of going down. So I think at some point people are going to start realizing that what they're feeding most of 90% of Persian music, I think, is there is something wrong with it, because the age of the songs are getting less and less, you know. Like nowadays a song, when it's a hit, it's going to be like 2 months, 3 months maximum, the life of the song.
Well,
you know,
certainly if you guys were at the forefront of new Iranian rock, what happened to it? Where is it? Where is the new Iranian rock? I mean, I know there's a few bands, but it doesn't feel like that really
I
has
think
gone.
when the internet broke, you know, like when YouTube came about, the iTunes came about, there was like new tools, new opportunities for new bands to kind of emerge. And then once that happened, I think the media, the government, the people who had the power, they realized, okay, we need to control this either for financial reasons or political reasons. You need to have some sort of a control, checks and balances on this.
But they're not controlling it in Los Angeles, are they?
No, but the commercial part of it it doesn't make sense, so nobody supports that. And then there's the media. So there's all these elements that comes to pieces. But I wanted to go back, and I think it's on a global scale. I think you would agree that it's a problem. It's not just about Iran.
Yeah.
I was
What's a problem?
it's becoming shallow. The entertainment.
Well, it's becoming shallow, but the music industry is thriving in other parts of the world. I mean, you know, there's no. It's not like the music industry is dying in America.
No.
But I don't know where it's going in the Iranian community, and I wonder why that is. I mean, obviously there was a revolution that cut things off at the knees, and you know, but since then, like especially in the last couple of decades, why isn't it more fertile? And I say this and I get criticized because, you know, somebody can find an artist that they go, oh, this is a great artist. Yes, there's great Iranian artists, but disproportionately, I mean, Canada, a country of 35 million people, is exporting superstar artists, you know, every day.
Yeah.
I mean, there's The Weeknd, Drake, this, that, whatever. And where are these superstar Iranian artists? Where are they coming from? Where are they? I mean, we don't really hear of them. And I think it's a dysfunctional industry. So I wonder, you know, what your thoughts are on that.
I think the role of media here is really important. So we don't have one single program on any radio or on any.
Well, you've got one single platform.
Yeah, well, congrats to that.
Right?
No, but I'm trying. Let's say we had Top of the Pops or Rango,
right.
things like that. You know that this last week this album was released. We're gonna review it. It was a shitty album, but it's out there. But now you're not gonna even find out. You know, like our good friends Oham released an album, and Nima was telling me that he's a fan, and I told him, "Have you heard the new ones?" He said, "Oh, is it already been published?"
Yeah, I didn't know there was a new one too.
Okay, see, somebody we need some sort of a platform or a music program. We don't have a single one. None inside Iran, not outside Iran, not in Toronto.
Don't we have one?
I mean,
what about Radio Javan? I mean, what is that?
I think that I'm really not familiar with how they operate, but I think
I am.
I thought you were going to say I'm not familiar with them. I don't listen. It's always a tough one with Radio. I don't want to, good for them. They're doing a business, and they're, but and I certainly wish them well. I don't know how it works when there's only one sheriff in town, right?
Exactly.
Well, I think there's two different problems. There's one that we are not working in our own country. You know what I mean? We have 80 million people,
yes.
but so that's one thing.
Yes.
But
almost 10 million or whatever, 8 million of us are now outside of Iran, right?
Yes.
There's an audience for the show in English. So you'd think there would be an audience for talented musicians.
I do, and we are selling out shows and stuff, but it's not the same as if the artist was actually in his own country.
Sure, yes.
The second problem is in Iran there is no system, so even the artists that are working in Iran, there is not a proper system that says, everything is just getting famous, getting rich quick, so we don't have a system.
Yeah, let me add something. So in Iran there is no copyright.
Oh,
I
yes.
think that's the
Yeah.
biggest issue. If there is no copyright, there's not going to be a music industry. The system is broken from its base.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is fun. And on a granular level, people probably get tired of hearing me say this because I talk about someone like Farid Zolond or, but if you guys were a Western rock band who have written songs like you have, that an entire a country of 80 million people could sing back. There's at least 3 Kiosk songs that almost everyone I know of in a certain age group can sing back, right? You would be set for life right now.
Yeah.
If you were English artists, you would be set for life right now with the same songs, same size audience. But you're right, because there's no copyright, there's no royalty structure,
Nothing.
there's no appreciation for that kind of creative content. Yeah. Wow. What an uplifting conversation
It
this
is what it is. We were talking about hope, huh?
You did that replay show.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, a lot of the artists that you had on were the old greats. But what did you learn about the interest in Persian music by doing that show?
My concept for that show was actually what you touched on, the heritage, the musical heritage that we had before the revolution. And I wanted to bring in younger musicians to cover those songs and kind of connect, to kind of make a bridge over the 80s that we had no music at all. And I think a lot of people got that, a lot of musicians. It was different times. It was COVID and we couldn't bring everybody that we wanted and all of that. But I think a lot of people inside Iran realized and appreciated that. And I got a lot of, I still get emails and text messages that, we go and watch, so-and-so's performance doing so-and-so song is better than the original, or is it like all of those stuff that I think was important to me. And creating that bridge, not forgetting the past. I mean, you look into the future, hope and all of that, but we should not forget where we come from and what we had before. It was great. We had great musicians. We had Kurosh Aghmai, we had all these guys, pioneers of rock. We had a good music scene in Iran, and not forget about that. Let's go and start from there. Let's forget about all the crap we made in LA for the last few decades, and let's go and to the source. And that was the idea behind it. And I wish we could continue that type of programs in other networks and media.
I asked you a couple of days ago what songs that you were interested in playing when you generously said you guys were going to come into the Roqe studio and play, not allowing Shahruz to come, of course. No drummers allowed. You and Arash, you said, I really feel like doing a song called Rusa Azadi because of what's happening in Iran right now. So I'd love to hear you guys play that song. But right now there are protests in Iran. We'd be remiss if we didn't mention them, especially because you wanted to talk about it. There's crippling inflation. There's a lack of resources. There's inequities growing wider and wider every day. Do you want to speak to that at all before you, as you set up this song?
First of all, thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to be here, and it was, it's always fun to talk to you and interesting to all these discussions. But yeah, I mean, about the situation in Iran, it's heartbreaking to see how poor people are becoming day by day, how much they're losing, how much the value of your life is just losing that. It's unimaginable for us outside the Iran, and these kids, have, like, I'm sure you've seen the footage of the kid in Shattercore jumping on the car and just, he's just asking them to shoot me. And when you see those things and you feel like, what can I do for them? And the least we can do is to acknowledge that they are suffering and even for a few minutes, if I have the platform, if I have the podium, just remind everybody else that this is what's happening inside. Not forget about it.
Nicely said. Why don't you guys set up and do this song, and then we'll talk a bit more on the other side of it.
Okay, we'll give it a try.
What? 3, 4.
نشسته تو دستان پرنده ای غمگین، به من میگه پاشو، به من میگه ننشین. چه زخمیه تو صداش، چه بغضیه تو نگاش. میگه بزن به جنون که عاشق من باش. بلند شو از کابوس، خورشید رو پیدا کن. بگو به دنیا نه، قفل در رو وا کن. بکش سر دنیا فریادی از شادی. دیوونه شو برقص تا روز آزادی. بکش سر دنیا فریادی از شادی. دیوونه شو برقص تا روز آزادی. تا روز آزادی. حرفای قلب تو بذار بیرون بیاد. بکش رو دیوارا رویاهاتو باخون. گیتار تو بردار، سر بده آوازو. به خاطرت بسپار لحظه ی پروازو. بکش سر دنیا فریادی از شادی. دیوونه شو برقص تا روز آزادی. بکش سر دنیا فریادی از شادی. دیوونه شو برقص تا روز آزادی. تا روز آزادی. بپیچ تو دنیا صدای عشق و جنون. تو این سکوت محض بخون دوباره بخون. تو این سکوت محض بخون دوباره بخون. تا صبح آزادی. تا صبح آزادی. تا صبح آزادی. تا صبح آزادی.
Nicely done. Live in the Roqe studio. Kiosk and the song Rusa Azadi. That's Arash, Ali, Casey, and Nima performing here live in the studio. I have to thank you all so much for being here and for performing live. Let me, it's interesting listening to the incentive of the precipitant for you wanting to play that song today, and your thoughts about what's happening in Iran. I know that you probably always all get asked this question, but if things were different in Iran, very different, totally different regime, would you want to move back there?
I would, for sure. Yeah.
You would.
Yeah.
So your home is still Iran, in your Ali.
That's a tough question. I've been living here for 20 years. I would love to go back, but I don't know, maybe this is my home now. I have so many attachments here. I don't know, I can't answer that question, honestly.
It depends on the regime there.
No, well, that's what I'm saying. If there was a big
like
change,
if
there's a big change,
like an ideal regime, right?
I mean, I feel like I would want to go and
I don't know, honestly.
experience Iran at the very least, because I can't go. What would you say, Casey?
For me, I think it's not just a regime that's gonna change. It's the years of people being abused and all that stuff. So I think it takes 30, 40, 50 years after the regime for people to truly change their point of view and to truly, change. So for me, maybe after a while, not just right away. But yeah.
That's a very, very thoughtful answer. Thank you for that. Because even when you were talking about creative copyright earlier, it's even like if you change the laws tomorrow in Iran,
it's not going to happen right away.
Nobody even knows how to do it. It hasn't existed, right? So
it needs a system, right?
Yeah. Nima, what do you think?
Yeah, like I think even we have some of those brainwashing stuff, going on right now. So even for us, it takes a while to maybe, because every time I go back to Iran, maybe I'm changed or my whole the whole society is different, it has a different vibe. So it really depends on which Iran you want to go back to. You know, the one that was 40 years ago, that, you know, looks very westernized and you know, fun, but yeah, like even you see like people from England or other like European countries move here. So I'm not sure like what the motive should be to, you know, immigrate back, or could be something not even political, you know.
But they wittingly move here.
Yes,
right.
Yes.
There's a difference between
and they can go back
immigrating. Exactly. So immigrating somewhere because you're. I mean, by all means, Canada's an amazing country. Why wouldn't you want to move here? But if you're moving here because you're escaping something and you're going to be shot at or put in jail or something, it's a different incentive, right? So it's and a different motive in terms of whether you'd want to go back or not.
I would give it a shot, you know.
I asked the question. I also still feel like I also don't think it's a good idea for Iranians to go anywhere in the world or come here and live in some sort of exilic mindset that we're squatting here, we're going to return to some, you know, place, because then we're not investing in the community that we're in, which I think Iranians need to do to have the kind of social and political and economic influence that our community should have in the broader in the U.S., in Canada, and at the very least to make sure that information is corrected when it's incorrect in media, etc. What can people expect at this show this weekend, Mr. Sobhani?
Well, I hope
those who are listening in Toronto, by the way. So if you're listening in the rest of the world, sorry. Well, my follow-up question is going to be: will you play it in the rest of the world anytime soon?
Well, we hope, first of all, that people have a good time. They come and enjoy some good music and you know, just get something out of it. You know, feel a little bit more connected to Iran, see friends, and have a good time. I think that's what this show is about, most of all. And hear some of our new stuff. We play some of the old stuff for them to kind of refresh their memories, or, you know. Most of all, I really hope that they come and they enjoy and they tell their friends about the upcoming shows.
All right, that's thank you so much, guys, for being here. What a pleasure. Thanks for taking your time. Thanks for coming here. The great band Kiosk playing. If you are in the Greater Toronto area, or if you want to fly here in the next few days, they are playing this weekend, this Saturday, May 28th at the Axis Club in Toronto. Their latest album is called Sweet Destiny, and you can find out about all of this at Kiosk the Band. What's the website?
Kiosktheband.com.
Kiosk the Band. Kiosktheband.com. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Jian. Thank you so much.
And once again, you can catch the Kiosk guys in Toronto at the end of this week at the Axis Club on Saturday night. Make sure to go to their website for details. Really nice to have you guys here. This is Full Time for Roqe for today. Go to our website for all things Roqe related, roqemedia.com. Roqe, easy name. Roqemedia.com is where you find all of our previous episodes and our guests and our Roqe Funny. It's all there. Thanks to the amazing team who put this show together each week. Savvy Roham, talented Anahita, Ponta the artist, the fabulous Keon, Super Patty Saw, Smart Pega, Alhay Meritad, Captain Reza Gruby Shaya. Thank you to all of you out there for supporting us and sharing our content. Please subscribe if you've not done so already. Find me on Instagram at Jian Ghomeshi, and as ever, make sure Mizun Bashi.